Hello, I'm Vila Spiderhawk, and I want to tell you about the day I had. I call it the Great Tofurkey Hunt. The air was crisp. The dawn was pink. November, or as I call it, Tofurkey hunting season had arrived. I got all decked out in my orange coveralls, slung my weapon to my shoulder, and trekked into the woods. Quivering with excitement over the huge tofurkey I already envisioned on my table, I set up a blind and took a deep breath and made the tofurkey mating call. It's a cross between a gobble and a kitten's purr, and not at all easy to perfect. And then I waited, and I waited. Squirrels leapt from limb to limb. Cardinals, hawks, and turkey buzzards flew by. The occasional cloud hid the sun from the bare trees, and still I waited. I made the call again. And there he was, all fat and sleek, his chest all puffed out with male pride. He was the biggest, most perfect tofu bird I had ever seen, big enough to serve at least 25. I aimed. I held my breath and braced my arm and squeezed the trigger. The shot went off, and so did he. The blasted creature was clean gone. I sought him out to the left and then searched over my right shoulder, but all I saw were trees and rocks, the crispy leaves and undergrowth, and of course, the stupid weaving of my blind. And then I heard his piercing taunting from just above my head. Looking directly at me, the thing had perched on a branch of an oak and was screeching his triumph. But that thing didn't know whom he was trifling with. Oh no, taunts do not dissuade me. My determination was steel. I slung my weapon back over my shoulder and made it halfway up that tree, the tofurkey laughing at me all the way. I was just within reach, maybe a yard away, when, giggling, my dinner took off. He lit near a fir about 50 yards away. I decided that stealth was necessary. As he pecked the browning forest floor, I tiptoed ever so slowly, crunching like a deer, however carefully I stalked. But each time he looked up, I stopped stone still and, and, and waited for him to be distracted again. By mid-afternoon, I was 3 yards from my prey. Once again, I found his head in my crosshairs. I squinted, held my breath, and braced my arms and squeezed the trigger. But before the gunshot sounded, that scoundrel had moved on, this time taking a leisurely stroll between the trees. This tofurkey had an attitude. He ran, so did I. He stopped, I did too. He flew just as at eye level, as if daring me to follow. I pursued him with everything I had. I was so busy keeping up with his zigzag flying pattern that I failed to pay attention to my footfalls. I ran smack into a boulder and crashed into the ground, spread eagle, my weapon just beyond my reach. Pain shot through my leg and I thought I'd broken it. I couldn't move. I couldn't even catch my breath. Indifferent, the Tofurkey watched my suffering until my leg obeyed my command to bend. I crawled over to my rifle, hoisted myself back to my feet, and discovered that I could stand up on both legs. The Tofurkey cocked his head, then bent and pecked at the leaves. Muttering swear words that I'd rather not repeat, I retrieved my firearm, took careful aim again, and again watched as the cursed thing escaped. Screeching derision, it made great flying leaps from one tree branch to another. I threw my weapon down, making up my mind that I'd have to strangle him just to shut up the derision. I chased that tofu bird until just before twilight's mist shimmered in the last light. And then I did it. I grabbed him. I had him in my arms, but he was strong and slippery. He wrestled free of my grasp, panting, massaging the stitch in my side. I watched him duck behind the trunk of an old maple. I took a step to the right to get around the tree. The creature took a step to his right, too. I thought I'd ambush him from the left, but he was just a step ahead. At last, he strolled on to a neighboring pine. I threw a rock. He flew above it. I smashed the pine limbs with a stick. The stick shattered. The Tofurkey giggled all the more. I made a lasso of a vine and tossed it over my head. The Tofurkey made a flying leap up to the loop and clean through it before I could snatch him to the ground. Darkness seeped between the trees, merging with the forest shadows. I could no longer see, but the Tofurkey sure could. With vision like a cat's, that thing followed me home, mocking my blindness as I slowly felt my way, jeering each time I slid one foot before the other to avoid the rabbit holes and rocks. At the edge of the woods, I shook my fist at the trees. I shall return, I hurled into the black. But of course, I won't go back. I'll just go to the supermarket. But as I served the store-bought tofu bird and cranberry relish and kale and the beans and sweet potatoes, I'll brag about the great hunt, the work I had to do to triumph. Yes, I'll lie, but my guests will be impressed.